Thank you all for listening and watching my videos. Please subscribe and like my channel Master Coolitz. Hoping that you will not skip my ads, it's a big help for me by not skipping it. Thank you so much. Dragon Shadow. The Rise.
A flash of light, Nectar's shadow materialized and engaged in combat against him. A fixed-size formation materialized around the shadow and its corporeal counterpart. Escape was impossible without defeating one's shadow, effectively containing Nectar within. Observing this phenomenon, Zane and Brad cautiously stepped onto the bridge. A burst of light manifested before Zane, revealing an exact replica of himself.
Fascinating. The mechanism works flawlessly.
As Zane marveled at the phenomenon, his doppelganger lunged forward, eyes gleaming with deadly intent. The shadow executed a powerful technique, unleashing a wave of formidable sword energy.
Let's see what you've got. This should be interesting.
Zane exclaimed, retaliating with an equally potent sword energy, matching his opponent in both size and intensity. The colliding energies detonated instantaneously, generating a tempestuous whirlwind that engulfed the surrounding area. The shadow employed the Wind Serpent step, approaching Zane with an intricate and unpredictable pattern. Zane, in turn, executed the same technique, seamlessly blending evasion and offense. In a flurry of movement, the two exchanged over 100 strikes within seconds, neither gaining a clear advantage. The battle's intensity escalated as their attacks grew increasingly rapid and fierce. Unconsciously, Zane had tapped into his full potential. If Brad, Rebecca, or Nectar had paused to observe, they would have been astounded. Zane moved with such incredible speed that only occasional streaks of sword energy were visible to the naked eye. As the duel with his shadow progressed, Zane began to intuitively grasp the essence of wind manipulation. He seamlessly integrated this newfound understanding into his earth-level cultivation technique, the Wind Serpent step. He moved with lightning speed, his presence fleeting like a flash across the sky. The air around him surged violently as he alternated between displaying his sword energy, manifesting a sword shield, and occasionally switching to the Thunderbolt fist technique.
Wait a moment. I've uncovered a subtle flaw in my sword energy technique. Though barely noticeable, it could prove fatal against a true expert.
A glint of understanding flashed in his eyes. With a resounding shout, he unleashed a concentrated stream of sword energy. The energy pierced through the space between the shadow's brows, causing it to explode into a shower of starlight. These luminous particles swirled around Zane before merging with his body.
What's happening? This energy, it's incredibly pure.
The myriad of light specks resembling fireflies were in fact condensed energy. As they flowed into Zane's body, his cultivation instantly advanced to the limit of the fourth stage of the intermediate level. Meanwhile, Brad and Rebecca continued their struggles against their respective shadows. They stole glances in Zane's direction, their expressions turning grave as they witnessed his rapid victory.
How did Zane overcome his shadow so swiftly? I must redouble my efforts.
Rebecca gritted her teeth, unconsciously using Zane's performance as a benchmark for her own progress. Unlike Rebecca, Brad's ashen face now bore a hint of murderous intent, his competitive nature rising to the surface. Having fully absorbed the energy, Zane's curiosity remained unsatisfied. He attempted to summon his shadow once more by walking onto the bridge. To his confusion, neither the shadow nor the circle of light reappeared, regardless of his efforts.
Could it be a one-time occurrence? Surely the Bridge of Souls isn't this limited in its function.
Perplexed, he approached the broken section of the bridge, peering into the abyss below before taking a bold step forward. A sudden gust erupted as Zane's foot made contact. Miraculously, a transparent bridge materialized beneath him, spanning the chasm where the original structure had crumbled. Zane found himself standing securely rather than plummeting into the void.
I knew it! The path to summoning the second shadow lies in the opposite direction of the broken bridge.
His excitement was palpable. The light before him intensified once again. However, the entity that emerged caused Zane's brow to furrow deeply, his heart rate quickening. The shadow confronting him now wielded the legendary Black Abyss Sword. The Black Abyss Sword was the most revered treasure of the Five Spirit Sex Hall of the Holy Sword. Its power could rival the sword radiance utilized by the Sword King himself. The might of this weapon was such that it could manifest a spiritual entity with its own consciousness, like the enigmatic Mr. Black. The shadow brandished the Black Abyss Sword, unleashing a wave-like surge of sword energy that hurtled towards Zane.
This seems grossly unfair. How could the Bridge of Souls conjure a shadow so vastly superior to my abilities?
Realizing the immense sword energy was about to make contact, Zane executed the Wind Serpent step, infusing it with his newfound wind manipulation to evade the attack. However, he was caught off guard when his opponent demonstrated the ability to imbue the sword energy with wind power, dramatically increasing its velocity. With a sickening sound, Zane barely managed to dodge, but the sword energy grazed his shoulder, leaving a deep, bloody gash. Crimson liquid began to seep from the wound.
This is not good. If I can't overcome this shadow, I'll be trapped here indefinitely.
Zane's expression hardened, his brows knitting together as he mentally reached out to Mr. Black, residing within the Black Abyss Sword in his storage ring.
Mr. Black, are you there? I implore you, lend me the power of the Black Abyss Sword.
Mr. Black stirred from his slumber, his aged voice resonating in Zane's mind with unexpected harshness.
Absolutely not. The Black Abyss Sword answers only to me. You lack the qualifications to wield it.
Another wave of sword energy, imbued with destructive power, narrowly missed Zane's vital organs. His lightning-fast reflexes had saved him from certain death. The intensity of the battle caused the surrounding air to churn violently. The immense pressure emanating from the conflict halted Brad and the others in their tracks. As they observed Zane's predicament, their expressions grew increasingly somber.
How is Zane's shadow so formidable? Could it be even more powerful than Zane himself? Is this a glimpse of his true potential?
Rebecca, having just vanquished her own shadow, had intended to follow Zane's example. However, upon witnessing the current situation, she hesitated.
Challenging a shadow that surpasses one's own strength? That's practically suicide.
Within the confines of the formation, Zane continued his evasive maneuvers. Occasionally, he would engage in brief exchanges with the shadow, but he was clearly outmatched by the Black Abyss Sword's overwhelming power. Mr. Black's indifference further frustrated Zane, who began to curse the ancient spirit inwardly before resorting to a desperate threat.
Listen well, Mr. Black. If you refuse to lend me the sword, I swear I'll cast it into this abyss. Consider this. If I perish here, you'll never reunite with your master. Is that what you want?
Mr. Black's demeanor shifted from indifference to anxiety, his words laced with outrage.
You wouldn't dare. You're bluffing, you despicable man.
When faced with death, the concept of honor becomes meaningless. Make your choice. Risk everything with me, or spend eternity alone in this forsaken place.
To emphasize his resolve, Zane withdrew the Black Abyss Sword from his storage ring, positioning it as if prepared to hurl it into the endless void below.
Whoa! Hold on. Let's discuss this rationally. The Black Abyss Sword isn't something to be trifled with.
A smirk played across Zane's lips as he inquired.
So, am I to understand that you're granting me permission to wield the Black Abyss Sword?
God damn it! Yes, take the sword.
The mystical seal binding the Black Abyss Sword dissolved. As Zane grasped the hilt, he was immediately overwhelmed by the sword's immense pulsating energy. It became clear that Mr. Black had placed a formidable seal on the Black Abyss Sword. Without his explicit consent, any attempt by Zane to utilize the weapon would have triggered this safeguard. The consequences would have been dire. The sword's raw power would have consumed Zane in mere moments. This revelation shed light on Zane's reluctance to wield the Black Abyss sword previously. Moreover, his presence at Titan Academy, despite its distance from the 4 major academies, posed a risk of discovery that he couldn't afford. However, the dire circumstances left him with no alternative. Prolonging the confrontation with his shadowy doppelganger would inevitably lead to his demise.
Shatter the illusion!
Zane's voice thundered as he brandished the Black Abyss sword. He swung the blade at his approaching duplicate, unleashing a torrent of obsidian energy that tore through the air, accompanied by a terrifying surge of sword chi. The once dark silver sword energy appeared to have been transmuted. At its core, a faint black radiance pulsed, barely discernible amidst the swirling dark silver energy. At that moment, Zane exuded an aura reminiscent of an ancient deity of war. His presence was as imposing as a mountain, and he unleashed a barrage of sword energy. The energy manifested like a colossal, ethereal serpent soaring through the heavens. It decimated the opponent's sword energy with devastating force, capable of obliterating anything in its path. With this overwhelming display of power, Zane vanquished his shadow. The shadow erupted into nothingness. The surrounding air shattered and compressed, creating a momentary vacuum. Then, as if rebounding from the void, the area filled with a terrifying, concussive blast. The air shimmered with countless motes of starlight-like energy, which swiftly converged and merged with Zane's body.
God damn! Such overwhelming might!
For the first time, Brad found himself acknowledging Zane's formidable strength. The sheer destructive force of Zane's attack left him awestruck.
If I were to face Zane in combat now, could I emerge victorious? Has he been concealing his true capabilities all this time? No, that's impossible. It must be the influence of that extraordinary sword.
Brad's gaze grew increasingly intense as he fixated on the Black Abyss sword in Zane's grasp. A flicker of unbridled avarice danced in his eyes.
Regardless of that sword's origins, it's wasted in Zane's possession. I should be its rightful wielder.
Rebecca's posture stiffened, but an enigmatic smile played across her features.
Well, well. So you've been harboring the Black Abyss sword all along. You're the culprit we've been seeking. This situation grows more intriguing by the moment.
As the vast influx of energy permeated Zane's being, he felt the constraints of the late 4th stage of the intermediate level shatter. His power surged, ascending to new heights. While exhilarated by his progress, he couldn't help but marvel at the Black Abyss sword's tremendous capabilities.
My gratitude, Mr. Black. I never imagined the Black Abyss sword possessed such astounding power. It's truly opened my eyes to new possibilities.
With practiced swiftness, Zane concealed the Black Abyss sword. He understood all too well the peril of revealing such a coveted artifact to prying eyes.
It's about time you recognized its value. Your current level of strength hardly qualifies you to wield this sword. If not for your underhanded threats, I would never have allowed it.
Yes, I understand completely. Fear not, Mr. Black. I shall only resort to such tactics when faced with mortal peril.
Why, you insolent.
Mr. Black's fury at Zane's irreverence was palpable. Had he possessed a physical form, he might have been driven to apoplexy. Zane descended gracefully from his elevated position, rejoining his companions with a mischievous glint in his eye.
Care to test your mettle against the second shadow?
The very notion of confronting the second shadow was preposterous. Such an endeavor would almost certainly result in their demise. At that moment, Nectar finally emerged victorious from his illusory battle. Stumbling out of the formation, he collapsed to the ground, utterly drained.
I'm completely spent. Every fiber of my being aches. I couldn't possibly engage in another confrontation.
He weakly waved an arm, emphasizing his depleted state.
Come now, Nectar. Enough dawdling. Guide us to the heart of the Tiger Earth cave. I wonder what magnificent treasures lie hidden within its depths.
Rebecca crouched beside Nectar, giving him a not-so-gentle pat before unceremoniously hauling him to his feet.
I'm not certain, but I know it's perilous. Venturing further will surely spell my doom. Couldn't we simply retrace our steps and leave this place?
Without warning, Rebecca's hand struck Nectar's face, her voice as cold as ice.
We've journeyed too far to turn back now. You will lead the way. Rest assured, with our presence, your safety is guaranteed. At least until we reach the core area.
Very well. I suppose I have no choice.
Nectar trudged forward reluctantly, resigned to his fate. Suddenly, a figure burst forth from the bridge's entrance. Upon spotting Nectar, the newcomer's eyes lit up with unbridled joy.
Nectar, is it really you? Do you have any idea how tirelessly we've searched? Master dispatched Senior Gregory himself to locate you. Wait, who are these people?
Recognition dawned on Nectar's face as he beheld the unexpected arrival. As if he'd glimpsed salvation incarnate, he lunged desperately toward the familiar figure.
Quick! You must save me! These people, they're agents of the Seven Kingdoms Alliance.
Zane's reflexes proved swiftest, his body already in motion before Nectar's plea had fully left his lips.
Wind Serpent Step.
With the grace and speed of a spectral wind, Zane materialized between Nectar and the newcomer. Without hesitation, he unleashed a devastating punch. The force of the impact sent Nectar hurtling backward. His teeth shattered from the blow as he landed unceremoniously at Brad's feet, once again reduced to the status of a helpless hostage.
I thought I made myself clear, Nectar. Escape is not an option. You will accompany us, whether you like it or not.
Having endured countless hardships to locate Nectar, the group was not about to let him slip away. Witnessing the brutal treatment of their young master, the man from the Great Eastern Palm's demeanor shifted dramatically, his eyes blazing with murderous intent.
How dare you lay hands on Nectar? Your actions have sealed your fate.
A gleaming saber materialized in the man's grasp. His eyes, now cold as winter frost, fixated on Zane as he charged forward, crystal blade poised to strike. A faint smile played across Zane's lips as he observed the oncoming assault. With practiced ease, he pressed his fingers together, conjuring a blade of pure emerald energy. His eyes hardened as he executed a precise, lethal motion. The Scion sword energy mercilessly bisected the attacker's neck. His head, severed cleanly, spun grotesquely through the air. The macabre spectacle concluded as the head struck the earth with a sickening finality. In the span of a single heartbeat, Zane had extinguished a life. More shocking still was the revelation that the fallen warrior had been an expert of the 5th stage of the intermediate level. As Nectar bore witness to this display of ruthless efficiency, the blood drained from his face. His mind reeled, struggling to comprehend the true extent of Zane's capabilities. At that precise moment, Gregory and his cohorts arrived on the scene. As they processed the grisly tableau before them, their faces blanched with fear and disbelief.
Members of the Seven Kingdoms Alliance. And you've slain Jacob?
You killed my brother? How dare you? I'll bury you with Jacob. Take this, 8 kills of serpent.
As he spoke, a martial practitioner at the same 5th stage of the intermediate level roared and charged at Zane Martel with a white light emanating from his palm. Martin raised his palm and stirred up the wind and clouds. A deafening roar was heard, and 8 gigantic pythons appeared from his palm. The pythons hissed and looked majestic. Zane Martel did not even look at the other party as he launched a wave of earth-shaking vital energy and crushed the 8 pythons. The other party took a few steps back and stared at Zane Martel in shock. Everyone present was stunned, including Rebecca and Brad. Zane Martel had once again become stronger.
You, the one from the Seven Kingdoms Alliance, I'll give you a chance. As long as you return the young master, I'll let bygones be bygones, but if you refuse, I will leave you here forever.
As soon as he finished speaking, a powerful pressure rose from his body, pressing everyone's shoulders. He was at the 9th stage of the intermediate level. Immediately, Zane Martel and the other two were shocked. This heavy pressure was like shackles on their bodies, which suppressed their auras. The 9th stage of the intermediate level was only a wall away from the advanced level. It was self-evident just how strong he was.
Hand over Nectar Blaine and let us go. Tempting, but we have the responsibility to protect our country. I can't accept this suggestion. Why don't you change it?
I've given you the chance, but you refused. In this case, I'll kill you three before the war begins.
Kelvin, rip his head off.
Greg snorted. After saying that, a burly man walked up to Greg. He glanced at Zane Martel with disdain.
Martin, can you not even handle such a weak person? What a disappointment. You have brought shame to the Goodwill sect.
Martin suddenly became anxious. He gritted his teeth and looked at the man as he retorted,
If you're so strong, you get rid of him. Well, it would be funny if you died.
Humph, just him? Go ahead and make your move. Let me see what you got.
Before he could finish his words, Zane Martel attacked. He slapped Kelvin, causing a wind to sweep over. The sound was loud and clear, and Zane Martel sent Kelvin 4 meters away. Kelvin was confused. Soon, Kelvin came to his senses and was furious. The blue veins on his face were like that of an earthworm, and he roared.
I haven't said you could start! How dare you sneak up on me? I'll kill you!
After that, huge energy burst out from Kelvin's body, and the surrounding temperatures seemed to rise several levels in an instant. Kelvin's body reddened at a speed visible to the naked eye. He leaped towards Zane Martel. The high temperature caused friction in the air and sparks. Suddenly, a fist smashed over. Seeing this, Zane Martel sneered. A 6th stage of the intermediate level practitioner was far from being his match. The 50 runes appeared on his body, surrounding it with a bronze glow. Zane Martel similarly threw a punch. When the two fists collided, Kelvin's arm exploded and his bones protruded from the back of his arm.
Ah, my hand!
Kelvin screamed in pain and his body fell backward. His arm was completely crippled, and he stared at Zane Martel with fear and anger. The pain did not calm him down, but made him crazier.
How dare you! I'm going to kill you! Ah!
No, come back quickly.
Greg did not expect things to turn out this way, so he quickly stopped Kelvin. But it was too late. A few cold cyan sword glows crossed the void, circled around Kelvin's neck, and his head dropped. Then blood gushed out of the cut on his neck and his body fell to the ground with a bang. The atmosphere became very strange. It was obvious that the people of Eastern Palm were here to save Nectar Blaine. But why did they start to develop in different directions? Behind Zane Martel, Rebecca and Brad frowned, and different thoughts immediately rose in their hearts.
Zane Martel's strength is even stronger than I had imagined.
Brad's eyes turned cold as he rolled his eyes. No one knew what plan he was harboring. Suddenly, he grabbed Nectar Blaine, who was lying on the ground, and said to Zane Martel,
Zane Martel, Nectar Blaine is of great importance. I'll leave this to you. If I didn't guess wrong, the army of the Seven Kingdoms Alliance should have arrived. I'll take him with me first.
As he spoke, Brad fled with flames around him in another direction. Zane Martel was shocked to see this.
Leave it to him. Did Brad leave him to deal with so many people here? Brad, come back.
Zane Martel cursed. However, at this moment, the other party had already disappeared. He looked back at Rebecca and found that she had disappeared. Immediately, he cursed her too.
Ugh. How could you leave me to so many of them? I'll make them pay later. The others can't pose a threat to me, but Greg, he's very strong.
When Brad and Rebecca fled, Greg's men had already caught up with them, so Greg was the only one left. Zane Martel smiled and asked,
Why don't you go after him? Your young master is not in my hands now.
Humph! I won't fall for your trap so easily. You're the strongest among the three. As long as I kill you here, the others won't be a problem. What's more, my subordinates are not easy to deal with.
I am the strongest. I have to say that you have good taste. But if you look down on the two of them, you are wrong. I can't wait for your people to teach them a good lesson from me.
Zane Martell's heart was filled with joy when he heard the other party praise him. However, there was no need for him to bear Greg's anger, so he waved his hand and said,
"Bye-bye. I'm not interested in playing with you. See you."
As he spoke, Zane Martell immediately executed the Wind Serpent Step. His agile body brushed past Greg's side and flew backward.
Trying to escape? No way.
Greg made a grasping motion with his hand and a crackling sound came from his bones. His vital force burst out and bombarded Zane Martell just as he was about to reach him. Waves of heat spread in all directions. A frightening force was transmitted from Zane Martell's shoulder and spread over his entire body. Zane Martell was sent flying. He landed on the ground and rolled before stopping. Blood filled his throat, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Gregory's presence exuded an aura of unparalleled might. In Zane's extensive experience, only the martial practitioners of the advanced level surpassed Gregory's formidable strength. Gregory advanced deliberately, his curly hair billowing wildly as if charged with electricity. His eyes blazed with an otherworldly light, giving him the appearance of a ferocious, mythical beast, barely contained in human form. As he closed the distance, Gregory's voice cut through the air like a glacial wind.
You bear the mark of the Five Spirit sect, don't you? Such audacity for a mere disciple of the Five Spirit sect to challenge the Godwill sect. Once we subjugate the Seven Kingdoms Alliance, the Godwill sect will assimilate your pathetic order. But why wait? I'll eradicate vermin like you here and now.
His words dripped with contempt. In a blur of motion that defied comprehension, Gregory materialized behind Zane, his palm already thrust forward in a devastating strike. An invisible, colossal hand coalesced from the very fabric of reality. The sheer, terrifying pressure it exerted bore down on Zane's frame, causing his bones to creak ominously under the strain. The overwhelming pressure and suffocating sensation were unlike anything Zane had ever experienced, even in his most harrowing battles.
Ah!
Summoning every ounce of his willpower, Zane steeled himself to counterattack. His vital energy erupted like a volcano, manifesting as a similarly potent aura that surged skyward, clashing against the oppressive palm hovering above. The very fabric of space began to convulse violently, threatening to tear asunder. Despite his valiant effort, Zane's aura faltered after a brief, intense struggle. Seizing the fleeting opportunity, he propelled himself backward, narrowly avoiding complete subjugation.
Fleeing already? Is this the caliber of the Seven Kingdoms Alliance's finest? Your pitiful escape attempt is futile. Witness true power. Bone Crusher Palm.
Though they stood within the subterranean confines of the Tiger Earth Cave, the surrounding ethereal energies churned in response to Gregory's invocation. A colossal, ominous hand fashioned from dark clouds materialized, its fingers grasping at Zane with lethal intent.
Thunderbolt Fist.
Zane unleashed his signature technique, a devastating amalgamation of raw power and golden flames. The two techniques clashed briefly in midair before Zane's Thunderbolt Fist succumbed to Gregory's overwhelming might. Zane's current strength, formidable as it was at the 4th stage of the intermediate level, allowed him to contend with experts of the 8th stage. However, Gregory, a powerhouse of the 9th stage, represented an insurmountable challenge. Even with Zane's newfound mastery over wind, victory seemed a distant, unattainable dream. Recognizing the futility of direct confrontation, Zane channeled his power into evasion, his form blurring into an afterimage as he sought escape in another direction. The moment Zane executed his technique, an ethereal figure materialized behind him with impossible speed. The suddenness of the assault defied Zane's comprehension. It was as if a bolt of divine lightning had descended from the heavens. Gregory's mastery over wind, while lacking the subtlety of Zane's technique, was amplified by his superior cultivation, granting him unparalleled velocity. Gregory's fist crashed into Zane's arm with terrifying precision. The impact sent waves of numbness coursing through Zane's limb, shattering the bones beneath.
Did you truly believe you held a monopoly on wind manipulation? How laughably naive. Your arrogance seals your fate this day.
Sensing Zane's vulnerability, Gregory pressed his advantage relentlessly. He brought his hands together in a complex seal, and the air resonated with the deep, foreboding toll of an ancient bell. An enormous bronze bell materialized from pure energy, radiating an aura of absolute destruction as it descended upon Zane.
Gong of Wrath! Obliterate this impudent whelp!
Gregory's voice boomed with cold fury, his words carrying an aura of inescapable doom.
God damn it. His power is overwhelming, but I refuse to fall here. Not like this.
Gregory's superiority was undeniable, surpassing Zane in both raw strength and blinding speed. Even Zane's vaunted vital energy, a source of pride and power, paled in comparison to Gregory's vast reserves. In this dire confrontation, Zane found himself without a single advantage. The absence of Rebecca and Brad weighed heavily on Zane's mind. Together, they might have stood a chance against Gregory's might. Their betrayal, so callous and abrupt, ignited a fierce, righteous anger within Zane's heart.
You believe you've witnessed the extent of my capabilities? Very well. If this is to be my crucible, then let us test the very limits of my potential.
Zane's laughter, born of fury and desperation, echoed through the cavern. He extended his palm, summoning forth a blood-red warrior's soul, half the size of a human. The ethereal construct was a marvel to behold. 3 heads, 6 arms wielding an arsenal of weapons from knives to halberds, with majestic wings sprouting from its back. This was the priceless treasure Zane had acquired from the Spirit Fusion sect.
Assimilate!
Without hesitation, Zane absorbed the warrior's soul, merging its essence with his own being. The resulting energy surge was cataclysmic, radiating outward and creating a vacuum that threatened to devour the surrounding air. Zane's body convulsed in agony, feeling as though it was being torn asunder at the molecular level. His blood simultaneously evaporated and regenerated in a terrifying cycle. His muscles writhed grotesquely as an aura reminiscent of an exalted celestial erupted from every pore. His cultivation skyrocketed, transcending boundaries with breathtaking speed, from the 5th stage to the 6th, then the 7th, until he ascended to the pinnacle of the 8th stage of the intermediate level. It was a meteoric rise that defied conventional wisdom. Gregory's pupils constricted in shock, his face a mask of disbelief and growing terror.
A warrior's soul? Inconceivable. How could one such as you possess such a treasure? No matter. Your demise is assured. Heaven-crushing palm! God extermination!
Unleashing his full might, Gregory's energy exploded outward. The Gong of Wrath descended with apocalyptic force, accompanied by 3 dark cloud palms that surged forward with murderous intent.
You still cling to the delusion that you can vanquish me? Your arrogance knows no bounds.
Though Zane's voice remained measured, it carried the weight of celestial judgment, shaking Gregory to his very core. The Black Abyss sword materialized in Zane's grasp, its presence alone warping the fabric of reality. With a gaze as cold and unforgiving as the void between stars, Zane executed a single, perfect strike. The entire Tiger Earth cave trembled, engulfed by an overwhelming wave of sword energy. The Gong of Wrath and the 3 palm prints shattered like glass before an unstoppable force. In that moment of clarity, Gregory finally grasped the horrifying truth. He was hopelessly outmatched. A single thought consumed his mind.
Retreat!
Survival became his sole priority. If he could escape, there would be time to plot his vengeance. Summoning every ounce of his power, Gregory invoked wind manipulation to augment his desperate flight. But Zane's mastery over wind was no less formidable.
Trying to escape. You forfeited that right. Accept your fate and relinquish your miserable existence.
Zane closed the gap with terrifying speed. His combined mastery of wind manipulation and surging vital energy made him Gregory's equal in velocity. The distance between pursuer and prey diminished with each passing second.
This defies all logic. Even with a warrior's soul, such power should be beyond you. What manner of monster are you? No, you cannot end me. I am a scion of the Godwill sect. I'll annihilate you.
Gregory's world crumbled around him, his words a jumbled mess of fear and denial. His status as a Godwill sect disciple, his cultivation at the 9th stage of the intermediate level, so close to the coveted advanced level, all seemed meaningless in the face of Zane's overwhelming might. The reality of his impending doom was too much to bear.
Bone Crusher Palm, Heaven Extermination.
He lashed out with his ultimate technique, but it was obliterated before it could fully manifest. Gregory's form was engulfed by Zane's sword energy, his body disintegrating into a fine, crimson mist. In mere moments, nothing remained but scattered particles of what was once a formidable warrior. Gregory was no more, his existence erased in a single, devastating strike. As quickly as it had begun, the battle concluded. Zane dispelled the warrior's soul, his power level receding to its natural state. The toll was immense. 3/4 of his vital energy reserves had been depleted in that brief, cataclysmic exchange. The aftermath of the fusion left Zane in excruciating agony, his very being threatening to unravel at the seams.
Ah!
Through gritted teeth, Zane forced out words between agonized gasps.
The power granted by the warrior's soul is undeniable, but the cost, it's beyond measure. Mere seconds of combat have left me utterly drained.
With trembling fingers, he examined the blood-red warrior's soul nestled in his palm. To his dismay, its form had diminished noticeably. From within Zane's sleeve, Billy emerged, assuming her human form. Her voice was thick with concern as she addressed her master.
Master, your condition, it's critical. What can I do to aid you?
Understatement of the century, Billy. I'm far from all right. These injuries will require days of intensive recuperation. I'm entrusting my care to you during this vulnerable period.
Zane's instructions were delivered through a grimace of pain, his face contorted in a mask of agony and exhaustion.